So welcome back my friends. So from this lecture onwards we are going to build our real vendor application. For that, go to app here, go to page.tsx. Let's run our project at first in Vimram Dev. Come to here and localhost 3000. So as you can see we are going to have some boilerplate here. So now what you are going to do is remove everything and type RAFCE. And as you can see it is a React arrow function export component. Click on enter. So as you can see from where onwards we are getting this. So it was actually an extension which was giving these boilerplates here. So this is the extension responsible for the boilerplates here, like that. So now you are going to type homepage here and save this file. So as you can see, sometimes you will get an error like this. So for that, go to incognito mode here, and as you can see on the incognito mode there is no error, but on our normal normal Chrome window, you're going to see this error. Why? Because the extensions here are responsible to create some of the Next.js errors. In order to avoid these many errors, you're going to always view your Next.js project on incognito mode to avoid some unnecessary errors like that. Now go to globals.css here, remove everything but not just these Tailwind classes here, and save this file. And as you can see, we are going to see the real application now. Now it's time to build our application from now onwards. For that, go to page.tsx, close this terminal. We don't require to do that. Now open here. Now it's time to actually define some of the models here in order to start. So we are going to start from our backend. So for that, we need to connect our database at first. Okay, for that, create a new folder under this library. So we are going to start our things from building the backend at first, later frontend. Okay, click on enter. Under this, you are going to keep a new file or folder called as database. And under this database folder, you are going to click on new folder called as actions here. And under this database folder only, you are going to create another folder beside actions called as models. Click on enter. And under this database folder, you are going to create another file here called as connect.ts. So this is the file responsible for connecting our database at backend. So now we need to import some of the things from Mongoose. Import Mongoose, comma Mongoose, which was coming from Mongoose. Like that. Mongoose is defined but never used. Okay, this is a warning here. Okay, now we need to define our mongodb url here. Const mongodb url, which was equals to process dot env dot mongodb url, like that. So we need to copy this mongodb url, and here you're going to create a new file under this root directory called as .env, and here you need to keep mongodb url. So for that, what you are going to do is go to your browser, search for mongodb, go to here. You need to log in with the mongodb account. After logging in, you are going to create a new project and new cluster. After creating a cluster and new project, you're going to land on this page. Under the security tab, you're going to click on network access and make sure to click on edit, and you are going to keep 0.0.0.0/0 as a value here for the access list entry. So we are accessing the database entire from the world like that. Now go to database access here. You can specify the roles and yes, like that. You can edit the password here like that. Okay, and you can update the user here. Click on update the user and it will update the user. Now if you come to clusters database, under the database clusters, you're going to see some of the clusters here. So now you need to click on compass. You need to copy this, what we can say, the command here or the code here. Copy this, come to here, and you need to paste it here like this under this env, and you need to keep the value for the mongodb url as this url. Okay, and make sure to keep your database password here. Okay, for this file. Now go to connect.ts. So our mongodb url has existed on our env file. So now after this mongodb url, you need to actually declare an interface here, mongoose connection. It was called as mongoose connection. It was having connection, which was a type of mongoose or otherwise null, and it was going to have promise here, which was equals to promise type of mongoose. Otherwise it was going to have null as a type here. Okay, and after we need to declare cached property. So if you ask me what is the code here, let me give you a brief after the code here. Okay, which means equals to mongoose connection here, which we have defined here. Copy this, paste down here, which was equals to global as any dot mongoose. Okay, so we need to define cached as like this. After, if there is no cached connection, we need to set cached as global as any dot mongoose, which was equals to connection, a null type, promise, which was equals to null. We are setting the values here and now the type here. So ESLint was triggering some of the warnings here when you use any here. Okay, so you can ignore those ESLint errors. If you want to disable ESLint warnings, you can actually go to extensions here and you can actually disable it from here. Okay, that's not a big deal. After that, we need to define a function here, which was export const connect to database, which was an asynchronous function. If it was having a connection in a cached one, we are going to return cached connection only. And we are going to check if there was no MongoDB URL. On that case, we are going to throw an new error here, which was missing MongoDB URL. Copy this, come to here and paste down the code here like this. So after that, make sure to keep like this. And after that, we are going to have our cached dot promise here. We are going to specify the cache promise. If it was having promise, we are going to set cache dot promise as like this. Otherwise mongoose dot connect with this mongodb url. So why it was so late, copy this, come to here, paste down the code here, comma. We are going to specify some of the other things like what was the db name here. If you ask me, I'm going to set this as wildcard, which was our application name, a sample application name, and we need to set buffer commands as false here. After that, we need to have cached connection, which was equals to await cached dot promise. We need to set it like this, and finally we are going to return this cached dot connection. So if you wonder what this code does, copy this entire code here, go to ChatGPT and you can write this, what this code does in Next.js. There is nothing wrong asking your question to ChatGPT, because using the artificial intelligence to clear your questions is just a wonderful technique, and click on enter. So this code defines a reusable function in a Next.js app to connect to a MongoDB database using Mongoose with caching to avoid multiple database connections during the app's runtime. Here is a breakdown of each part. And yes, environmental variable MongoDB URL is fetched from environment variables, which should contain the MongoDB connection string. Yes, interface for cached connection. Mongoose connection is an interface defining the structure for the cached connection object, an active Mongoose connection, and promise for a pending connection promise. And for the third point, global caching of connection. Cached checks if a global Mongoose object exists. If not, it initializes cache as an object with connection and promise set to null. This caching mechanism helps in Next.js environments where serverless functions might be initialized multiple times to avoid reconnecting every time a function is called. This is the main objective of this entire workflow, guys. Okay, and finally we are going to connect our database with this connect to database function. This asynchronous function connects to MongoDB only if no cached connection exists. If cached.connection exists, it immediately returns the active connection. If MongoDB URL is not set, it throws an error. If connection is not established, it creates a new promise using mongoose.connect, specifying options like db name and buffer commands. Finally, cached.connection is assigned the resolved connection, and this connection is returned. In summary, this code provides a reusable, efficient way to connect to MongoDB in a Next.js environment using a caching pattern to avoid redundant connections. Now come to here. So now we have successfully created a new file, which is connect.ts, to connect our database, like that. So on the next lecture we are going to define our models for this project, guys, for this entire project. See you there, guys. Thank you.